subatomic particles were introduced with this universe, as evolutionary building blocks within space and time. I do research in metaphysics, and the focus of my research is the evolutionary development of the cosmos, planet Earth, and all life on Earth through a process known as the paradigm shift. This universe was introduced almost 14 billion years ago. This universe is contained within another structure that is responsible for its evolutionary development, that I like to call infinite consciousness. The universe is continuously evolving into infinite consciousness, and absorbs, retains, and distributes energy throughout time and space as a result of this containment. Before this universe was introduced, there was consciousness, and a pure form of light energy, and a pure form of dark energy everywhere. Pure light energy comes from consciousness, and higher frequency vibrations, and pure dark energy comes from consciousness, and lower frequency vibrations. Consciousness is the will that is contained within this energy, that is responsible for designing evolution. This has to happen to maintain consistency within time and space, so consciousness and infinity can be maintained. What happened was this consciousness made a decision to conjoin the two frequencies together in a more powerful way than what had already existed, using a will, with a purpose of design which this universe came from. When these two frequencies conjoined with the design concept for this universe, the first subatomic particle that was created was the Higgs boson. Because this was the first subatomic particle that came from the conjoining of these frequencies, this required the least amount of force, which contained no resistance to the evolutionary process. The Higgs boson comes from infinite consciousness, so this represents the most powerful energy associated with infinity. The Higgs boson and the Higgs field are responsible for eternal life and eternal development. This is consciousness in infinity. When the design process moved forward, this introduced time into space, and introduced evolutionary development into the universe. As the design process continued, frequencies were merging, and so is light and dark energy from infinite consciousness. This was transferring Higgs bosons into this activity as well. Because the frequencies are different, this causes polarity to occur, which causes pressure to accumulate. With consciousness, different frequency levels, light and dark energy colliding, and pressure accumulating, this generated more subatomic particles. The activity itself was producing different frequency vibrations because of different variables of time, space, and light and dark energy. This was producing different subatomic particles. What was also happening with this activity, because there was pressure accumulating, is resistance to evolutionary development was occurring. This resistance came from the change that was happening. The consciousness and energy that was being formed into this universe had belonged to infinite consciousness previously, and was undergoing a very powerful transition. This produced an incredible resistance to the change. With the mixture of this activity happening, and the resistance being experienced, this produced antimatter. Antimatter are subatomic particles, with opposite charge, that come from the resistance to evolutionary development. The reason that stable antimatter does not appear to exist within the universe is consciousness and energy are consistently transferring into a state of evolution. Infinite consciousness kept designing and creating this universe with this activity, and what was in the process of being introduced was more consciousness, light and dark energy, subatomic matter, antimatter and pressure. This consciousness that was being formed into this universe fought against this process with all its might. What happened was, when the design became complete, this consciousness stopped fighting everything together, and all the matter and antimatter collided, and fusion occurred with matter and antimatter, and the Big Bang occurred, releasing everything out into the formation of this universe. When matter and antimatter collide, and annihilation occurs, the energy is transferred back into the Higgs field so evolutionary development can start over again. The Higgs field was transferred out into the universe with the introduction. The Higgs field is the most powerful aspect of universal consciousness. The Higgs field contains infinite consciousness, universal consciousness, and a very powerful concentration of light and dark energy. The Higgs field is like the DNA of this universe. The Higgs field absorbs consciousness and pure light energy, and pure dark energy from infinite consciousness. The Higgs field contains frequency vibrations from infinite consciousness. These frequency vibrations maintain different concentrations throughout the universe because of the variations of space and time. The Higgs field generates different subatomic particles as a result of this activity. Because resistance to evolution transferred out into the universe, with the introduction this resistance introduces itself into some subatomic particles, and antimatter forms. This is resistance to evolutionary development on a micro level. Black holes are resistance to evolutionary development on a macro level. Subatomic particles consist of consciousness, different concentrations of light, and dark energy, different levels of pressure, space and time, and different variables of force that come from evolutionary development, and the resistance to evolutionary development. This is what causes them to interact, and behave in certain ways. The Higgs boson is the most powerful concentration of consciousness, light energy, dark energy, in space and time, and contains no resistance to evolutionary development. The reason for this is because of the incorporation of infinity into the Higgs boson. This is what subatomic particles represent, and what causes them to behave, and interact in certain ways with the expansion, and acceleration of the universe.